I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over to Ben to get started.
Let me unmute my mic. Yeah, so this is just a very basic introduction to Globus. We have an hour, we're going to go through some of the basic concepts of Globus. And yeah, I'm Ben. I am a system analyst at UBC Advanced Research Computing. I'd like to start off by acknowledge that University of British Columbia, Point Grey Campus, Vancouver is located on the traditional ancestral and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. And the University of British Columbia Okanagan campus lies on the unceded territory of the Okanagan peoples. And skipped one. So yeah, start off talking what is Globus. So Globus is a nonprofit data management platform developed and operated by the University of Chicago. So the base of operation is at the University of Chicago. They have a conference every year. It's held in Chicago. Most of the staff is from that university. And the goal of Globus is to deliver a fast and reliable data transfer, collaboration, and automation service directly from your own storage system. And we'll talk a bit about what your own means later on, via a software as a service model using existing identity. We'll talk a bit about what existing identity mean as well. Basically, it helps unify different storage systems, making them appear as Globus collections for easier management and transfer. And in essence, with Globus, the idea is so that researchers can move, share, and discover data using a single interface, whether your file is on a high-performance computing platform cluster, kind of like Sockeye, or on the cloud, or on your own workstation, so like your laptop or your lab computer, for example. And so you can use a username or password from any organization that is recognized by the Globus service. So the organization, meaning your university or even a health authority or something like that, as long as it is, as they have kind of registered with Globus, or they've added it to a particular database. So I'm going to do a quick demo of this, but basically when you log in, you can select your preferred organization from the list on the Globus login page, and you'll be redirected to your organization's login page by your credentials. Meaning, for example, if you're from UBC, like a lot of us, maybe you go to Globus, you pick UBC, you'll be redirected to the campus-wide login page. And I'll show that very quickly in a little bit. You can also use your GitHub account if you have one. If you have a Google account, you can use it as well. If you don't want to use any of those, you can actually create a free Globus ID on the Globus site and use that to log in. And with any account, because Globus only provides an interface, you can log in, you won't be able to see any shares that people, unless you've been given access to it. So just logging onto Globus isn't a big deal. That's why you can just log in with a GitHub or your account. But Globus also lets you link different identities into a single account. So it lets you have a single account to manage different resources that you have access to. For example, if you have a campus or login account, you can link up an account with your Alliance, Digital Research Alliance account. I can quickly show you that as well. So this is the first quick demo just to show you how easy it is to use Globus. So it's just a web browser. Hopefully you can all see it. The website is just globus.org. You don't need to be on VPN. Generally, you can access this on any network. And just go to this website and you click on login. And first time you log in, yeah, this is where you'll be asked to choose which university, lab, facility project you're in. As you see on the bottom, you can also use, this is a little logo for GitHub, Google, or Globus. But for our intent and purposes, we are going to University of British Columbia, click on University of British Columbia, you click on continue, and you will be redirected to the very familiar UBC CWL page, which here I will try to make sure I don't I password wrong. And you'll go through all the same two-factor, whatever your university or your institution has. So yeah, once you log into Globus, slowly, eventually, yeah, you start off sort of in a file manager state. A couple of quick note is it's sort of it's used a lot for file transfer. So there's a panel here. You can split into two panels. I'll go through this a bit more later, but what the very basic concept is, you pick a collection here, you search for something you have access to on the left-hand side, and you search for something else you have access to on the right-hand side, and you can actually click on a button to just start transferring them from one side protocol to the other. But I will show you about the linking of your subscription. So yeah, if you go to setting, this is where you can link up your account. So for example, I have my UBC account and I've linked up my Compute Canada account. If you want to link more identity, you can actually go and click on link another thing. You can link your GitHub to it as well. If you work at McGill, you can link that as well. What it means is that you can log into a single UBC account, and then you will have access to any other shares that you were given to from another institution if their accounts are linked. Granted, once in a while, you might, when you go to particular shares with those other identity, you might still have to put in a password once in a while, because it depends on how what kind of high assurance the Globus they have on the other end. But in any case, you just you can just log into one account. You don't have to log into your Compute Canada one separately and have two different windows. You can log in to different ones and more or less access the files you have access to here. So that is how the very basic, just to show you, if you haven't used Globus before and you have not been granted access to any storage, you kind of won't have access to anything. There are some tests. Globus has a test instance you can play around with, but in any case, that is just that. You probably won't see what I have there, but I will get more into a demo after this. But this is just to quickly show you that logging in is very simple. And anybody with a campus login should be able to log into it. You just might not be able to see anything. So why would you want to use Globus as opposed to anything else? So with Globus, data transfer can be started and left unmonitored until the transfer is complete. So you can actually log into the website. You click on a button that says, "I want to move this file to this other file." You can close your browser. You'll do it in the background. It's not reliant on something running on your computer. It's software that's running on the endpoint where the files are stored. So and also if data transfer can automatically resume after an issue is resolved. So for example, if you're trying to connect to something like a server out east and it's been down like the last couple of days, it will actually keep trying until the network is back up. And also it can check for integrity, so make sure the transfer file is the same as original. It does, and it uses existing account, which is very nice, especially if you're trying to share files with other researchers from other university. I'll say most university uses Globus. So if you're trying to share something with someone at a different university, very likely they will already be aware of Globus and they can log into their own Globus instance, and you can share things with them relatively easily. And data transfer is encrypted as you would expect from something like Globus. Again, more things about encryption, identity. So data, yeah, one thing to note again is that the data stay at the institution. It's not stored by Globus. Globus doesn't keep any data. It just acts as intermediate for transferring files. It kind of stores your identity and makes sure who has access to what. Globus doesn't actually keep any of your files. Everything is secured by your institution. And yeah, I think this is a little bit redundant, how we said. So some of the most common use cases, very commonly people transfer data from their workstation, meaning the laptop or the PC or a computer in the lab, to some sort of high performance computing cluster or mass storage platform they have access to. For example, if you have like a microscope in the lab that's been taking tons and tons of videos or photos, you can actually set it up to upload files to your university's storage platform from that workstation or whatever microscope that's attached into your lab to it. And you can transfer files from different storage sites, one university to another. You can back up data onto it, using it if you have access to a mass storage system. And you can also share research data with collaborators and other people in the research community. There is a pretty robust sharing function on Globus. And there's different ways to access Globus. The most common is a web interface, which is sort of what I showed you by going to globus.org. You can use command line as well, which is kind of the text interface on your Windows or on your Linux. You can pretty much do everything you can do on the web interface on a bunch of command line as well. That's useful for if you want to set up your computer to do things automatically. There's also application program interface that you can access Globus by, which we won't go into in this intro session. Before we go too much further, there's a lot. One of the very important point for Globus is that there's a couple terms that is kind of key terms in Globus. An endpoint is the server or the group of servers which provide access to the storage. For example, at UBC, Chinook is an endpoint. It's just a server that provides the data storage. And a map collection is a user's access to an endpoint. So if you have, if you're a PI and you're given allocation to Chinook, you will have access to this map collection. A guest collection is a shared part of a map collection. So this is actually the most common part is, so someone have access to a map collection can actually create new guest collection. And once you created a guest collection, the user, meaning the PI or the researcher, can actually use Globus to figure out, to set permissions and to determine which other users have access to use it. So guest collection is probably the most common way you'll be accessing Globus. And that is the only collection that you can set up permissions and sharing rights and access profiles and such. Okay. Some examples of endpoints for now. So yeah, UBC Sockeye, which is a high performance computing platform, you can actually, there's a couple ways to upload and download files to Sockeye, but one of the way is to use Globus. So you can actually directly use Globus to transfer files to your Sockeye home directory, for example. Chinook is our UBC's ARC's object performance platform, and the way to access it is using Globus. And both of these services, Sockeye and Chinook, is available to UBC researchers via application, meaning you have to, there's a form you can fill in and apply for access. And there's also different endpoints. Digital Research Alliance of Canada has clusters you can connect to, and it uses Globus as well. Globus is pretty much the most popular way of all. Most research facilities, they all pretty much use it for file transfer. So Beluga, Cedar, Graham, Abutis all uses Globus. And these examples endpoints. So these are like the big servers that's maintained by the institution. And
Hey, Ben,
so,
hi, there's a question in the chat.
sure. Let's see. So where is my, okay. Chat. John. So is it the question is, sorry, I might have missed it. Globus different from sockeye. Globus, yes. So yeah, Globus it's more just it's an interface for storage. So it's used to it's a general software that different University of Chicago created, and almost all institution uses it to. It's used for kind of file transfer, access permission on for storage. Sockeye is it's a computing platform. You generally use Sockeye to do your research on calculating things or that use a lot of computing power. How Globus relate to Sockeye is that you could use Globus, the web interface, to upload and download files into your Sockeye file directory. With Sockeye, there's actually other ways to transfer files as well. They're just, the different things. So I don't know if that answers your question. Feel free to, yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Globus is more for Chinook. There's really no other way of connect to move files to Chinook other than using Globus. That's the key way. I would say mostly you use with Sockeye. Yeah, I mean not as much unless you're moving a lot of files. There are other ways to upload files to Sockeye, but you could as well. But yeah, it's more Globus is for Chinook. Okay, hopefully that answers. Thanks for your question. So Globus, so this is the nitty-gritty part of Globus. So Globus Connect server. This is actually the server that we're running on Sockeye and also on Chinook. It connects. It's something we're running to connect to our Sockeye and Chinook. So and all the institution is running this. So this is a server that actually gives that allows Globus to work. The reason I'm bringing this up is that any user can actually install this as well on their own computer. But generally speaking, this is more meant for when you have a lot of people, multi-user system to use it. So it's to a lab cluster, research computing system, multi-user thing. So it's designed for multi-user, typically installed by system administrator. It's in Linux only. And once you install Globus Connect Server, it creates an endpoint. Most people probably won't be installing Globus Connect Server because I'm going to show you another option. But if you have a lab and you have like 30, I don't know, I'm just making up the number, but a lot of users, if they're logging into this computer separately with different accounts, this might be an option you want to do to install it. This is for cases where, for example, you want to be, if you have a lab or an office and you want to be moving files from that office or lab to something like Chinook. The more popular option you're looking at is Globus Connect Personal. This is for this is kind of it's a software, it's an installer, setup program. It's much easier to install, runs on Windows, runs on Mac, runs on Linux, and it's mostly meant for one person. But once you install this software on your computer, you set a folder where you want to be sharing files, and then it would show up on the Globus interface, and you can use it to transfer files to something like Chinook. Just to note again that I'm always have to stress with Globus because sometimes it happens is files are not hosted in Globus. So if you install Globus Connect Personal on your Windows computer and you share, say, your documents folder with all your photos and such, if you go on Globus web interface and you delete all the photos, you actually would delete it from your computer as well. So by default, the licensing
Ben.
for Globus. Oh,
Ben, there's a question in the chat. So Ben raised his hand. No.
Sure. Go for it. Go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify. It sounds like we'll probably be using the Globus Connect Personal, basically just to do occasional file transfers from our lab into Chinook.
Yeah.
Is there, and I'm getting the impression that we basically have like a folder on our computer that is connected, and if files are in that folder, then they're available through Globus Connect Personal. Is that right?
Yes. So yeah, I think the next slide is actually I'm going to go through a quick show off of the Globus Connect demo. So yeah, I'll show you. It's very easy. Like you just install it. Actually, I'll go through that part. I'll show you how to install it, share the file, and then I'll show you how it shows up on the Globus web interface. If that's cool.
Sounds great.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out between giving you info and doing the demo. Because there are some caveats with Globus Connect Personal is that by default, you cannot use Globus Connect Personal to transfer files between one PC to one personal to another personal. So if someone has a Mac and someone has a PC, you can't use it to transfer files between those two by the default license. It's really because by default, it's really meant for kind of high performance mass storage computing. However, UBC does have a particular account called Globus Subscription Group that actually allows for this. So if it is a use case that you do want to transfer files from, say, if you have Lab A in Vancouver, Lab B in Victoria, whatever, and you have two Globus Connect Personal, you do want to share data between the two labs, and you're just running the basic Globus Connect Personal, you can actually email the contact Art, and we can actually set you up so that you can transfer files between workstations or another. Just that by default, it doesn't. We just have to put you into a different level. So that's a quick caveat that I just want to mention. But yeah, demo for so I'll show you how, and I can only do it for Windows because but it works similar for Mac. So you would actually log into, when you log into Globus, it actually has there's a button on the side that lets you download Globus Personal Connect. So I'll just go through this again. Yeah. I'm just running this in a virtual sandbox here. This is why I have to type in my password again, because I've already installed Globus on my actual computer. This is sort of just a virtual machine. So yeah, so when you go to connections, there's a button that says Get Globus Connect Personal, or you just go to Google and do a search for Globus Connect Personal. So you can see there's one for Mac, there's for Linux as well, and even different processors for Linux. Just a setup file, you run it, and then it runs in your system tray icon. Open file. And yeah, on the Mac, it just runs on your tray, but it's on top versus bottom. So yeah, see, it's ready. Goes here. So this is Globus Connect Personal. See what events. Yeah, let's go login. And then it should open a browser to verify you. So it automatically launches your browser. And so you just have to accept. You have no choice but to do it. Because I logged into Globus already, it knows that I'm connected to Globus using this account. So now you're creating your collection. So this is actually this is how you search for, so when you go into the Globus interface, I can show you shortly, this is how you would find this collection. So I am gonna call it something I can find, Ben, I don't know what is, maybe BBC art. This is fall, right? Fall 2025. Globus Connect Personal. Let's do that. So yeah, that's just the name of the collection. High assurance is this particular thing that you actually have to apply for. High assurance is basically what it does. If you have very sensitive data, if you use high assurance, Globus will prompt you for the password a lot more than it normally does. So every time you connect to it, it would be prompting for a password. So, but generally, unless you know you're using high assurance, you don't have that set up. You go and save. And high assurance is something you have to ask us for. So now Connect Personal is running in the background. It's running in a little system tray icon. Exiting setup. So you see it's here. And there's only one setup option here, is where your folder, well, as you can see, there's not check for update, none of this, yeah. Is where your folder you're sharing files with. So if so let's just change it to something else. I'm gonna go new folder. So you can set it to any folder you want. I'm just, for the sake of easy, I'm just gonna do a desktop folder, create a folder on my desktop. I will add one here. My computer. You have to know where your desktop is. This utility. It's a goofy name because I'm using, this is Windows Sandbox. So yeah. So by default, yeah, it's sharing. That's my username, whatever utility. So document and Globus is now shared. I can save it now. And so now the sandbox is running. As you can see, if you go back, if I go to Globus now, so this is part I'm going to show you how to search for collections. So yeah, if you go to when you log into Globus, either one panel or two panel, under collection, you click on collection. You can actually type in the name of the collection you want to search for. And I've totally forgotten what I call it already. Maybe ARC, I think I call it ARC something. ARC. What did I call it? Oh yeah, here we go. UBC fall, yeah. Yeah, it's important to know what you call something. UBC fall. So yeah, you do kind of need to know the name of the collection. So there you go, boom. It shows up. Since I created it, I have access to this. It shows up here and it shows you what's on there. By default, I don't have much, so that's why there's kind of not a lot of things on it. So yeah, it's showing the because I share both document and desktop. You can see that it has document and desktop, and my document is empty. But for example, so so it's empty because this is empty. So I can quickly, so I can show you how to. So to transfer files, you split it into two. The easiest way is to switch it into two panels, and you look for something you have access to. And for the sake, as you can see, this in the collection, it has a record of what your recent searches are. I only have it because I've been using it. You can also bookmark collections you like. When you search for a collection, there's a little tag you can add it. But just for this quick test, I will to show you how a quick transfer works is this file is empty. I picked a folder A, just picking something here. So you're picking, I'm going to transfer this file from this is a Chinook share collection. And there is a transfer and timer options here. If you just click on start, it would just transfer using default. But if you click on this down arrow here, it will show you a lot of settings on how you want this particular transfer to happen. You can label this, so you can call it something. This is useful if you are transferring a lot of files. So if you're transferring hundreds of files or a big file, it's going to take a long time. So you want to come back next day, you might not remember what this is. You would probably want to call it, big transfer, whatever. It had to be one word, or whatever. So you can keep track of it. And there's also a bunch of other options. If you click on the icon, it will tell you what the actual function is. Syncing is only transfer new or change files. You can set it to delete files that it doesn't exist on the source. This is just how to sync. You can kind of sync the two folders if you need to. You can make sure it doesn't check to see if your file transferred properly. I don't really recommend it. And yeah, so also what happened is you get an email by default, you get an email from Globus anytime you do a transfer, either success or not success. So there are notification setting to disable if you don't want to get a bunch of emails on successful transfer, you might want to check this off, but I'm just going to set it as default. Yeah, there's not too much time to go, but yeah, if you want to figure out all the what they do, when you click on the info button, it will tell you what it is. You can also schedule the transfer to start later. And you can also set it to repeat every day. So yeah, if you do have something, you have an instrument that's collecting data every day or every minute, you can set it up so that it just automatically every day it would just sync, or every minute it would sync. So it automatically keeps syncing whatever the instrument is collecting to Chinook or whatever device you want to upload to. So that's a good feature to have. But when I click on start, so I'm doing the really basic things.
Ben, before you move to
sure.
the next section, so there's a question in the chat from Sierra. So it's how can you have spaces in your folder names? If there's spaces in my file names, then the transfer fails. There's also another question. Go ahead.
So you're having particular issues with that? That shouldn't happen. It should still transfer. Like, were you yeah, do you mind unmuting and maybe just write in the prompt to see because hello.
It's easier to just explain. Yeah, I've had a lot of different transfers from my workstation fail because essentially what happens is it gets to a file path where someone put in a space and then it just like can't find it because it's like replaced it with like the % instead of a space, and it just can't handle spaces, and then it will loop looking for that file until essentially the transfer times out.
That shouldn't happen because it should just so you're transferring from your computer, which is like a personal, like a laptop or something, or is it and
it's like it's our lab workstation. I'm just transferring old data from past teams up into the cloud or up to Chinook, and yeah, like all of our transfers keep failing because of the file names, and it just like won't be able to find a file over and over again.
Okay. That shouldn't be, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that we might have to take that offline because no, it shouldn't matter. I mean, the whole reason to switch it to the % sign is so that it actually will transfer because it's supposed to, it transfers spaces into that and it's supposed to recognize that. Can we yeah, I might have to get someone to talk to you, to contact you about that. I probably want to see the logs and see what the error is. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I don't have a quick, yeah, I have to look at the log and see why that is the case. I can sometimes there's issues if the files on your local computer is locked or something. That's more of an issue where your Globus Connect personal can't actually access the files itself. Sometimes there's a problem with if the files the path is too long, like the folder name is too long. If it hits 256 characters, sometimes it creates problems, but not just spaces. But yeah. But thanks for letting me know. But yeah, we'll chat about that maybe after.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
Sierra, I have captured your email. So after the session, I'll send you and Ben an email so you guys can connect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem. Ben, there's a comment in the chat about this could be an effective way to run a daily backup to
Yeah.
workstation.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the easiest way. There's more complicated doing it, but you could write your own flow and script to do it. But this is the most, for majority of people, that's the best thing to do it. The only thing you have to notice is that if you're running on your workstation, if you're running Globus personal connect personal, you have to make sure it doesn't, people don't log out of it or the computer doesn't go to sleep, because otherwise it won't. So Globus is fire and forget. So if you set up a transfer, it does do it, but only if the computer that the files host on is still on. So, so yeah, like you have to make sure Globus Connect is running and not pause or anything. If someone locks you out of this Windows, I think it actually kicks, it might not run Globus Connect person just because the way Windows doesn't run it. If you switch profiles, that's fine. Like if someone logs in and then the other profile is still logged in, that's fine. But if someone logs you off, that's the only caveat. Or if your computer is set to like sleep after 5 hours of non-use, then it would go to sleep. But the next day, when someone comes in and turn on the computer, it will continue, it will resume the upload anyway, so that might be fine. So yeah, yeah, it will continue on. So yeah, once the tasks keep going, it would happen until it would keep trying until it fails. Sorry, until I think you can set. I think it just keep trying until the server comes back up. It won't even. There's no time limit. It just keep doing it. Because when you set it, it's a task it creates. So this is where I'm showing you under activity. When you click on something, it's not like old Windows where there's a window pops up and show you how the file is transferring, because it just creates a task and it goes in activity. So the big transfer I just did, it goes into here, and it tells you that this is how it tells you that it's finished. You actually have to go in activity and you see the big transfer, there's a check mark and it's actually finished and completed. Things that you're still transferring, if you go into here, I don't have one here, it would have a different symbol. It will have a check mark. I think I forgot exactly what it is. I think there's a little circle that says it's running. Or if it really fails, it would be a red sign. And you can actually go into here and do more with it. And I probably also got an email from it, but I'm showing you here. So now if I refresh this folder, you do have the refresh, so that what it works. You see that one of the file that I was transferring is over here. Okay. Although now we're down to 15, I'm trying to, let's see how much, let's go back to the PowerPoint really quickly.
I just want to make sure you've addressed Ben's question about the transfers.
Oh, yeah, well, if files in use, it in theory, it would skip them and then it would go back to them until it's not in use. But if the file is permanently locked in use, then yeah, it might not be able to transfer. You will get an error. It will skip over to the other ones. Yeah, that's my understanding. So yeah, there's only so much, yeah, it can do if the file is locked for some reason. and it can't transfer. In the activity log, it will tell you what files didn't transfer. And if you use the sync option, it might be a good way. So the next time you do it, it would figure out which file it doesn't match from one end to the other. Then it will sync it up next time. That might be the best way to do it. Is a sync. Oops. So yeah, it's gonna. So yeah, quick talk about Chinook. This is where we use Globus for object storage platform, available UBC faculty members and PIs by application. So I have a little link here. You actually do have to apply for it. And the important thing is the allocation must be set up once. So the first time you get an allocation for Chinook, you'll be sent a setup documentation, and we will help you with that. It is slightly tricky with it because it involves like downloading like a key, a special key, and you have to put it in it. There is a full documentation on it. We won't go through it here because it takes a bit of time and doesn't really, it's better off you just do it at the time and follow the documentation. I do have to note it. And you don't end up doing it once. So once your PI set it up or the faculty member set it up, you don't have to do this again. Generally what happened is the main PI for the lab would set up a allocation once, and then they would create guest collections off that allocation, and they will grant you access to those guest collections. So for a lot of you, you won't even have to deal with this. You would just log into Globus and you would see the guest collections that you have access to. And it is under under collections. So there's actually, there's tabs for things that is shared with you. So whatever guest collection that people share with you shows up under your collection tab. You can also see things that you shared and such. So yeah, file transfer, I sort of did that already. And sharing, okay. So yeah, let me try to think of what else I haven't touched on. So sharing for whatever endpoint that enables sharing. So you can't do this on Sockeye, but you can do it on Chinook. So you can set up. So I have a, let's see, what do I have? This. Training. So this is a Chinook that I have access to, assuming you're the allocation holder. Yeah, to set up a permission, I have the document here. Yeah, I have a couple minutes here, but it's very simple. You actually, well, not super simple, but if you go to permissions, I can show you, you are just adding people to rows on your thing. So right now, I'm just picking this one folder B within my collection. Say I want to share this to a particular bunch of people. You click on permissions. You can either add them here directly if you know their username, or you can add a bunch of people as a particular role. So, for example, I want to add you can add a bunch of people as administrator to this folder. These are particular ones that Globus had default. So you can set that so people can view and control, or people that can add and delete, or people that can only monitor activities and such. So this is a way to just add a bunch of people and grant them a role. But for this case, I will just quickly, to add someone, it's a matter of picking the path. By default, since I already selected folder B, this is the one I choose. You can share it with the user, you can share it with a group, or you can just make it like public. Probably not advised, but you can if you want for anyone who can log into Globus to access it. Generally speaking, do user. and you would just search for a user. In this case, I know someone. I think this is there. Oh, maybe not. Here you go. So yeah, Michael Tang, someone works at ARC, so you can grant them access. You can grant them either read or write. Give them the permission. I'll click done. If you go back now to that folder under permissions, you'll be able to see that they have permission, and you can remove it as well. I do have a bit of, yeah, a little bit of write-up on it. You can, yeah, it's available for public and all users, but generally speaking, we don't super advise doing that. Also, if you want to just play around with Globus, there is actually, you can, even if you don't have access to Globus, you can always install the Globus Connect client, but there's also a Globus, what is it called? Yeah, is it training? Oh, what do I say? Hang on a sec. Give me a second. Hang on. Shared with recent tests. There's a Globus training collection, except now I just kind of blanked out on the name of it. It's not the ARC one. It's just one that's set up actually by the people at Globus. Yeah. No. Anyways, yeah, fortunately, sorry, it's just blanked out on me what the name is. I had it somewhere, but yeah, maybe I'll, I don't know, maybe you can post it in an email later or something like that. Okay, is this something any user can do? Would that be on the PI's end? So yeah, the sharing thing, it's under the permission. So if your PI grant you, so they would have to grant you access to, there's under the collections, for example, if they create a guest collection, they would have to, if they grant you the role to be administrator, then you can create other guest collections from that collection. Only if you have that right. So, very quickly, there's also something called Globus Flows that lets you create bespoke, tailor-made functions, series of actions. You can say, you can use Globus to say, I want to move files from this server to this server, and then only delete anything that is bigger than certain size, and then move it to the. It's very complicated. There's documentation on do it. You can actually make it do very complicated things. We can't cover it here, but just to make you aware of, if you do have very particular things you want Globus to do, and it's not on the web interface, it is most likely doable. Things like I only want to upload JPEGs and not MP3s or something. Like you can actually set it to do that. It is programmed using Python and I think JavaScript, but there's a view on Globus flows. But obviously we can't really get too much into it. Some information about documentations, and I think we will be providing the slides to everyone who attended, so you have links to some of these. Only have a bit of time here. And also just a quick reminder, there are upcoming training sessions for ARC, November 5th, Introduction to Batch Command Line Interface, and then Introduction to Digital Research Alliance of Canada, and yeah, feedback. But yeah, we only have 7 minutes, but if you have any questions and such, I'll try to answer it if I can. But again, feel free to email us at I think art.support@ubc.ca. Do I have the
You got it.
email address?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're happy to answer any particular questions. And yeah, especially with the file one, we might have to look at we'll probably take a look at it. It shouldn't create issues, but I don't know. I mean, it could be a file length problem, but I don't know. We kind of have to look at it. Yeah, there's a survey and there is a draw for prizes. All right, thanks. All right. It looks like that is it.